Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ and Sons, and we are back with another City Skylines episode where we've got multiple things kind of going on in this episode. Nothing too major or groundbreaking. We are looking for expansion into some of these areas because, one, our needs are going up. You know, it's going to have to be met, and with the way we're kind of replacing some of our, I guess you could say, smaller type cities, or not smaller type cities, but low density residential with some of the medium and high density down and what's going to become our downtown area. Since we are replacing that, you know, our low density is starting to creep up. So we are going to have to add some low density out and about in certain areas and kind of work on getting those things expanded, especially because right now we have a lot of medium buildings up there. And that's going to be brought down to basically what amounts to the high density, and then the medium's going to take over a lot more of that low density. So we're going to have to keep spreading stuff out. And that's really kind of what we're doing, especially here in our little farming community section, our more rural area. You know, I lived in a small town in East Texas. You're going to have places that are, you know, a lot of farmland out there with a downtown kind of area. Generally, it's called the square or something. But you're going to have those with some essentially neighborhoods that are going through the outskirts, kind of between the farms and so forth. So that's kind of what we're doing, is working on moving some of this territory out. Now, we are going to end up also looking to probably at some point replace the highway system, how it kind of comes out into that major road lane. We are eventually going to look to try and make it an actual highway that loops around kind of the city and allows us to expand off to really get ready to go in other directions. But before we do that, you know, we have our train station there that we got in the last episode. So where do we kind of want to go with that from here? The first and foremost thing that I think we're going to need to do to really start to establish a downtown section is move the industry out. We're going to have to do that as we go, right? It kind of is where it's at as far as a point of necessity. But at this stage, we're kind of where we need to get things progressing. So we got to move the industrial area outwards. So that's kind of what we're building up over here right now in this section, is just getting that industrial section built up, or at least the roads in, so we can start to move the industry out. And that's going to be one of the biggest things kind of going forward, is get that industry moved over so we can start to spread out and kind of really put some other additional places in for what's going to be our downtown section. So that's where we're doing it. You see me deleting all these. Eventually they will become houses. One problem with that right now is there is such high ground pollution. You know, it is quite excessive, the ground pollution that is over there, which you kind of got to expect with the industrial area. You're going to have ground pollution. So, and it's going to take a little while to get rid of. It's just one of those things. It takes time. Now, part of a decision to work on maybe making a little highway area is, let's start thinking of this in terms of this main road that goes across, right? That goes around and across. We are going to have to work on that traffic. Now, I don't mind traffic. In all reality, I truly don't. Just for the simple fact, I live in Austin. There's a shit ton of traffic anyways where I live. And it's always at certain times of the day, you know where to go, what roads to take, so forth. So you got to imagine this type of stuff would be essentially the same. So we are going to make the change just for the ease of travel. But for now, it's one of these things that, hey, let's kind of start doing it and then get everything kind of set up so when the time comes, we'll be able to officially make that change for everybody. And here you just see us, I mentioned replacing some of this low density with more kind of medium density buildings. That's what I'm trying to do here. I just want to try to get them the right shape. And so we have kind of a uniformity going throughout. Now, I know this is going pretty quick. We're looking at a couple hours worth of film going on right now. Excuse me if it does move fast. Now, a little bit earlier, y'all did also see me plant down a school and stuff, like an elementary school in our rural section. Yeah, you have to do that. I mean, one, education's not going to reach all over the place, so you do it where you can to get everybody educated up, because eventually we're going to have that. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. And so here we had this other little low density section. You know, it kind of extends off the main road, kind of just continues on down that way. So that's what we're sticking with going and just moving it beyond where it was to allow us to put in some more of this low density and some eventually commercial. You know, and I'm talking like mixed commercial usage. So you got your, basically, if I could compare it, I'd say South Austin, South Congress. It's a bunch of shops on the bottom story and apartments on top that are excessively expensive. It just is. So that's one thing to kind of watch and to keep in mind as we move forward with this build and kind of this specific little section going out. Eventually, we are going to hit a lot of differences in terrain, so we do have to be prepared for that. Kind of moving forward. Now, this is just our little Wi-Fi towers. I do place a couple of them out and around the more major roads, so they're not in neighborhoods and all that stuff, or at least try to avoid that for the most part. But I think it's good for them. It gets the signals out. It's something people want, and it's going to drive people to the community. And so the best way to, kind of move on and grow your city is to get people to want to move there. So that's kind of what we're doing. And you're seeing how fast it comes in, right? So if you look at our little indicator down there for what our city needs are, you see industry kind of creeping up. But low density and medium density stay pretty, I'd say pretty medium, but based off the last little low density section, it goes almost all the way down and becomes non-existent, right? And that's actually a pretty good thing for us. And all those houses that are being built, they are going to fill out. That's why that low density went all the way down. And right now, it's just kind of looking at what is it that our people need at this point. We're looking at we're basically close enough to 6,300 people in the city. Eventually, we're going to have to start, changing the needs up for the people in this city. And so that's kind of one of the things that we needed to look at is what are the people's needs, whether it be education, more police, more fire, what have you in that realm. Right. Taxi minimum fare, that's just to get a little extra money. I don't know what there's a max. I haven't seen anybody pull that off, like see what the maximum city fare or fare could be. And I do this just mainly to get some additional funds coming in at that point. Yeah, once it becomes a full-blown downtown, I think we are going to need bigger parking garages. I know they have the big one, they have the underground ones. We're going to start transitioning over to those as we build around some of these sections. And right now, that elementary school that's right there, that is going to stay. I'm not removing that, even once we get kind of the downtown area going. In Austin, we got a couple elementary schools close enough to the downtown sector that they're really just kind of right off the highway for the most part. And it's a lot of different schools. It's elementary schools, it's middle schools, and it's high schools. So we've kind of got it all there, and I'm perfectly fine with keeping that there. You know what I'm saying? So here's just additional development. And we are going to start playing on, multiple levels here with the city and our landscaping. I don't want to just flatten everything out. Obviously, I do to make my life easier. I think everybody does that at some point. It's just the way it works. But I do want to have to take it on to multiple levels because that's just the way things go naturally. Now, this is just trying to fix the traffic. Really, that's what the hardest part is going to be. And right now, it's just dawning on me. I made the left lane a straightaway, which people are going to ignore. Like, that's just going to happen. I should have just made that left one left turn only. One, it seems like everybody's turning left out of there only. But probably also just would make more sense to do that. But we'll deal with that as we go. Eventually, like I said, that is actually going to become a highway, which has its own issues putting one in. that I'll need to fix. So we'll deal with that as we go. I'm adding buses. We have some bus going. I finally kind of got a little bit better understanding of how to use the buses and the routes that the buses go on. So this is just placing it down in our newly residential area where people are going to be needing it. Every few blocks there's a little bus stop, and it's on both sides of the road, so we can get things going both ways and not having to worry about all the different the pathways that it takes. And now I did put in a big old little bus depot thing so we can get more buses running. And here you see me putting in the route, and that's why we generally have one on each side. I still do try to figure out what the best route's going to be for this thing. It still screws with me a little bit. It's just one of those things that I have to work to put together in my own mind. But I think we do a pretty decent job of getting the routes going the way they need to go. And it works out pretty well to get all these bus stops hit. So yeah, that's kind of where we are at here. Just getting this going, like I said, it was confusing as hell at first for me. And I didn't want to just keep the buses only to that last section, so I do move it on because eventually everybody is going to have to go downtown at some point. So give them an option, connect it up to these other stops, and run that bad boy right on back to your depot. So that's kind of what we were doing with this line. It is a massive line. It really is. As I see this thing go in, it's like, good Lord. Up the ticket price, make that red. Trust me, that's going to have to change going into the future as well, but that's just the way things go. Now, as far as the buses and kind of our transportation system, I notice, holy crap, these people have lost a lot of services. What the hell did I do to them? Try to figure that out. Sewage treatment's getting pretty poor. So a water treatment plant. One, I still have the sewage outlet, but I do put in a water treatment plant because I should be able to handle just about everything that we got going on in our city. And it's really, as I'm putting this stuff in here, it's kind of dawning on me what it is that I need to actually do for it. And I've seen this happen to a couple people playing this game, but connecting these damn lines up becomes a pain in the keister, especially with the road types. And I mean, in reality, I probably could have just put lights on a highway. If you do the lighted road, you got your wires and everything going. So, that would have made life a little bit easier in reality. But why do things the easy way when you can do them the hard way, is what I say. So here we are filling this out. You saw we're dealing with some of those little services in that section. That's just the way it goes. I forgot that we have some like welfare type buildings and other ones going down in that area. So once again, I'm going to try not to move those as much as possible, right? If I can avoid it, I will. But sometimes you can't. We're going to keep them there as long as we can. This island, oh good Lord, now that the whole Epstein thing kind of got brought out again, this is kind of a bad idea as I'm saying this, but this is our fancy famous person island. This is what it was. This was just designed, those I guess unique buildings is what they'd be called, where you have the Rockstar Mansion. I think there's like an artist house or something like that. This is where we store that. And in fact, I might still put just some other roads and just regular low density and make that a gated neighborhood. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's gone on in the city. I just figure that might be something to do with it. I don't really know, and I'm kind of thinking out loud is what that amounts to at this point. So that's where that stands. Now, just building this basic, simple little bridge across, nothing fancy. I don't want it to be fancy. It's just going to where all these rich folk live. That's all that was. So, don't stress out about it. That's just how things are going. And then, this episode remains a lot of the basic same kind of after this for the next few minutes. Just working on getting the industry moved over, get some of the low density spread out so we can put the medium and eventually high density back into the downtown sector and really start to kind of build this thing up. We are getting ready, for expansion. I think that we are in a good place in our city, and I kind of like where everything is going and the direction it's actually heading in. So stay tuned for the future episodes to see how we do grow and develop the city out. It definitely looks pretty dang good for us, and I think it's just a really good looking city. And yes, I am biased in that note. But other than that, everybody, this is where I'm going to leave y'all off. Hit that subscribe button if you have not hit it already. And definitely give us a thumbs up if you did enjoy this video today and the City Skyline series that we got going on. And guys, I will see y'all in the next episode, everybody. So as always, stay safe and stay tuned for a couple little extra finishers and the final screenshot of the work completed in this episode. Coming up here in about a minute and a half. So I will see y'all in the next one, everybody. Later now.